Hello and welcome to another Guardians of the Wiltshire video. I'm your host Dewi and welcome to another Send Forth All Legions. This week, Army of Gothmog. As the Third Age draws to a close, Sauron sends his vast armies to march upon the kingdom of Gondor and ensure that the race of men will fall. At the head of the Dark Lord's armies is his lieutenant Gothmog. This cruel and twisted orc has fought many wars in the name of the Dark Lord, and bears the scars of his devotion to Sauron's cause. Though he may no longer be the fearsome and formidable warrior he once was many years ago, Gothmog is still a general without peer in the armies of Mordor, commanding its forces with a ruthless tenacity and a mastery of battle tactics seldom found among those of his race. Within his grand army, Gothmog has command over all manner of evil creatures, from legions of orcs, both the hordes of Mordor orcs that were the first to the walls of Minas Tirith, and the heavily armoured Morannon orcs that fought upon the Pelennor, to the huge hulking Mordor trolls and the variety of deadly war machines at his disposal. It is these forces that stormed the ruined city of Osgiliath and claimed it for the Dark Lord before marching upon the city of Minas Tirith. Such is the power of Gothmog's army that it would take the combined might of the free people of Middle-earth to hope to overcome them. So after that synopsis, we'll come back with the army composition. So it starts, as you would expect the army of Gothmog, with Gothmog, Lieutenant of Sauron, and he can take a warg or a shield. Next is Goroth, Captain of the Morannon, Guritz, Master of the Reserves, Gothmog's Enforcer, Zagdush, Orc Captain, Morannon Orc Captain, and they can take shields or two-handed weapons. Then you've got an Orc Shaman, who can take a warg, Orc Taskmaster, and Orc Drummer to round out the heroes. And then if you move on to the warriors, you can take a Mordor Orc Warrior, who can take a banner, an Orc Bow, a shield, a spear, or a two-handed weapon. A Morannon Orc, who can take a banner, a shield, or a spear. A Mordor Troll, who can take a war drum with the Mordor keyword. A Mordor Siege Bow, who can take an Orc Engineer Captain, flaming ammunition, and additional crew. Or a Mordor War Catapult, who can take an Orc Engineer Captain, flaming ammunition, severed heads, and an additional crew. So, a good mix of heroes and warriors. Very extensive hero list, and there's lots of different ways you could build it, obviously depending on taste. My hierarchy will go through kind of my thoughts on what heroes should be taken in what order. So additional rules. An army of Gothmog force must always include Gothmog, Lieutenant of Sauron, who is always the army leader. Makes sense, it's his army of course. Gothmog counts as a hero of legend when part of this legendary legion. This is really good. It means you can definitely bump up your numbers. Special rules. The destruction of men. The range of Gothmog's The Age of Men is Over special rule is increased to 12 inches. Additionally, the range of Gothmog's The Time of the Orc Has Come special rule is increased to battlefield wide. So very quickly, The Age of Men is Over is the Mordor Orc models gaining Hatred Man. And The Time of the Orc is the once a game ability to reroll all to wound strikes. The second Legion special rule is Tyrannical Rule. Friendly Mordor Orc hero models may benefit from Gothmog's Standfast. So, being a hero of legend, passing his first one automatically, then automatically goes on to the heroes who are nearby, and therefore creating a kind of a chain reaction of heroes who can use their Standfast to encourage all the other orcs to stay. So the designer's notes. This legendary legion represents the forces commanded by Gothmog at the Battle of Pelennor Fields. As the fields were packed with countless orcs, we wanted this force to do the same and be a teeming horde similar to the one outside the gates of Minas Tirith. You may notice there are no Nazgûl present in this force, and this is because, although they are at the Pelennor, they acted more independently than as part of the army that was directly under the command of Gothmog, which is what this legendary legion represents. Gothmog's warriors follow his commands unquestionably, such as his dominance over his fellow orcs and the fear it instills in them. This has been represented by the fact that Gothmog's standfast will now affect friendly hero models, allowing him to command his forces with more certainty. To help represent the hordes of armies, Gothmog will count as a hero of legend when part of this legendary legion, allowing him up to 18 followers. As you might expect, the key to victory with this force lies with its leader, Gothmog. If he can remain alive, then his followers can bring destruction upon their enemies. However, should he be slain, the force is all the more likely to falter en route. It's definitely the case. The only thing for courage buffs is a Orc Shaman. You've got Orcs who are Courage 2 base. Yeah, there's lots of really interesting ways you could build this list. I definitely like Gothmog, having used him, he's really good fun. And I think it's definitely one that could do good things, but not perhaps top tier. So next we'll come back with the hierarchy of heroes. So, coming back with the hierarchy of heroes. As with all the previous videos and future ones, we'll start with 450 points. So like with all legendary legions, there is a hero that's outlined to be the leader of the force, and in this case it is Gothmog, obviously. The next hero down is an interesting one. I have got 3 heroes in the next kind of tier, and that is Guritz, Zagdush and the Shaman. I think this all comes down to personal preference. For me, having a secondary hero who is killy is useful. You could take the Shaman if you wanted, to give yourself that courage buffs if you're trying to be slightly more competitive. I don't think Army of Gothmog is necessarily competitive at a lower points level. It's hard to protect your leader and get more kills. And then you've got Guritz, who can give you another march if you want, and the 3 might. I think it gets slightly more clear when you get up to 600, 750 points. So if we move straight to 600, you have Gothmog to start, and then I've put a Shaman next. I think they're definitely needed, like I said, for that courage buff. And then it comes down to a choice of 3 heroes, Goroth, Zagdush and Guritz. Obviously these hierarchy of heroes all depend on the rest of your list. At 600 you could possibly include a catapult. Personally I wouldn't for my list, which you can hear a bit later. I've kept it to Orcs because I didn't feel that I had enough numbers, especially because I wanted mainly Moranums in there. And then at 750 points, I've gone for Gothmog, Shaman, Zagdush, and then a choice between Guritz and Goroth. For the points he is, Zagdush is amazing at killing stuff. He has Heroic Strike. His ability to swap his strength and defense, meaning you can kill Ironhill's dwarves, for example, on 5s, Army of the Dead with spears on 5s. You can really threaten heroes. He just makes really a good additional hero for me, and I'm willing to take the sacrifice on Maelstrom deployment, because I think at 750 points you definitely include a catapult. So it's definitely interesting. You can obviously, these hierarchies aren't set in stone. You can do exactly what you want, but that's kind of my opinions on it. I think that's relatively self-explanatory. So we'll move on to the army lists next. So, army list time. As always, starting with 450 points and moving through 600 and 750, just like the hierarchy of heroes. So, straight into 450 points. I have Gothmog with a Warg and a shield. I wouldn't ever take him without either of those things. Defense 7 and a mount, very, very good. Then I've got 8 Moranons with shield, 8 Moranons with shield and spear, 1 Moranon with a banner. And then Warband 2, going from the hierarchy where you could have Gurrit, Zagdush or the Shaman. I've chosen Zagdush for some of the reasons outlined earlier. So he has 4 Moranons with shield and 5 Moranons with shield and spear. So if you look at that list as a whole, you have 28 models, which is pretty good for 450 points. You've got a banner, you have 6 might with Master of Battle, you have 2 heroic strikes, you have a heroic march from Gothmog, you have a heroic defense on Gothmog, which I think is huge, especially as he's your leader. You've got a strong secondary hero, and all the list is strength 4, and the majority of defense 6. The only thing that's not is the Moranon with the banner and Zagdush. I think this is a pretty good overall list. Don't know quite how competitive it will be, but it definitely can put up a fight. So moving on to 600 points, Warband 1 is the same as the 450 point list. It is Gothmog with a Warg and a shield, 8 Moranons with shield, 8 Moranons with shield and spear, and here's where it differs slightly, a Moranon with a banner, shield and spear. Warband 2, so this is coming on your hierarchy, you've got an Orc Shaman, 3 Moranons with shield, 3 Moranons with spear. And then going to Warband 3, moving down your hierarchy again, I've chosen Goroth out of him, Zagdush and Gurrit, because I like, well, he's fight 5, he's got strike, he's got his burly club. I think he's pretty cool, and at this point you can still get loads of numbers without having Zagdush, which is obviously 20 points cheaper. So looking at it as a whole, you've got 38 models, a banner, you've got 7 might with Master of Battle, you've got 2 heroic strikes, a heroic march, you've got heroic defense on your leader, you have a shaman who can use fury for your courage if needed, or transfix. I think he's on a Warg actually, so the larger base gives a bigger bubble effect for you. You have a strong secondary hero in Goroth, and the majority is all of strength 4 if I'm correct. I might have to check the shaman, but the majority of defense 6 as well, that includes Goroth. So yeah, a really strong list. I think it's quite good. 38 models at 600 points is massive, especially if you have your rerolls to wounds. You can suddenly put a lot of power down in a single turn. Like I say, you could include a catapult at this points level. I think it's a big point sink, and for me, I didn't end up with enough models that I would have liked. But it's all down to personal preference. So moving to 750 points, you've got Gothmog with a Warg and a shield, 4 Moranons with shield, 4 Moranons with shield and spear, 1 Moranon banner, shield, spear. Then you've got Gurrit with 4 Moranons with shield, 4 Moranons with shield and spear. Warband 3 is Zagdush, this time with Mordor orcs, 4 of them with shield, and then 4 of them with spear. Warband 4 is an Orc Shaman, with 2 Moranons with shield, 4 Moranons with shield and spear. And then Warband 5 is your catapult, obviously with your troll, your siege veteran and 2 crew, and I've given the upgrade to severed heads. So this is only one more model than the 600-point force at 39 models. It has the banner. It crucially has the catapult with 7 heads. For me, I'm pretty sure this is the best siege weapon in the game, personally. The rerolls on hits and scatters means you're hitting like 75% of the time. The 7 heads is really useful, especially if you're on a blue on blue. Evil forces tend to have weaker or lower courage. And you get a monster. I think that's slightly missed sometimes, and some people keep their catapult at the back a little bit too long. If you bring him up and get the monster involved, you've suddenly got a troll that can cause havoc. So then the force has 11 might with Master of Battle. You've got 2 heroic strikes. You've got 2 heroic marches. You have heroic defense on your leader. You've got the shaman for your fury and transfix as before. He's not on a warg this time. You've got a strong secondary hero in Zagdush. You've got your Gurits for your deployment bonuses. The Mordor Orcs are in there to boost the numbers up a little bit, and there's only a small contingency of them. So you've got a large portion of your force is strength 4 and defense 6. I like this overall force. I've known people to use a similar force at Ardacon back in 2019 and do well with it. I think David Clubley won the Legendary Legion Evil category with it. A very similar list. I'm not entirely sure what his was. And he says Zagdush was a real MVP for him. I can't underestimate or understate how good the catapult is. Like with the Rangers of Ithilien list, this is a list I will be taking before this video comes out. To the same tournament, you're allowed to take a good and evil. And it's a 650 point list. I like it. I think it plays well. I'll be very interested to see how it goes on the weekend. I think that I've covered everything. So if you have any questions, if you have any notes on this, please put them in the comments, let me know, and I might do a future video on them. It'll be interesting to see what some other people's builds are and what they think the hierarchy is. Good to spark up a bit of a conversation. So if you've liked this video and enjoyed the content, please like, share, comment and subscribe, and we'll see you soon.